Give your love and give your energy. Get it right for this poet. Give it up for Saoirse. Looking ethereal and radiant as ever.
This is called Common Denominator. They say you should look at what your past relationships had in common to figure out where you're going wrong. Like there's some kind of formula. Like you plug in your X, and yourself, Y, and calculate to find why this keeps happening. But what if what my past relationships had in common was me?
Right.
Am I the common denominator? I may be bad at math, but am I bad at love too? Am I self-sabotaging? Why can't I see red flags? Why does everything look green? Maybe I'm filtering it all through my green eyes, these eyes that have cried over at least 15 boys since daddy left. Let's look at the numbers. Take the boys I've cried over, greater than or equal to 15, add my age when my father found another family, 5, and try to factor those into the numbers in this equation. When I started dating at 13, I dated only older men, hoping I could find in them some kind of guidance, perhaps a pat on the head, a look of pride in their eyes, someone fatherly, someone wise. At only 25, I became too old for them. No longer full of tantalizing youth, no longer the word they used to call me, jailbait. So I started dating younger men, maybe with the idea that I could mother them, cater to their every need, and eliminate fathers entirely. People tell me like it's plain to see that I choose whoever's bad for me, but when you're faced with an equation, you don't know the answer at the start. How could I have known so many different variables would all yield the same result? I've looked at this problem from every angle, and I'm not being obtuse. I've dated wannabe rock stars and poetic med students, snowboarders and hikers and record collectors, singers, guitarists, cellists, and trumpet players, sailors and dreamers and schemers and deadbeats. I guess what a few of them had in common was they loved the idea of me at the start. But when they did the math and realized how many women there are in the world, they couldn't stay fascinated with just one girl, so it's always me, that number one, the sole remainder after everything else has been solved. I was never very good at math. The way I felt when I threw my textbooks at the wall and screamed my throat raw is the same way I feel now after putting myself out there for 17 years, after all the tears and the therapy, doing the work just for nothing to work, always ending up alone and now turning 30. There's another number I hate. They say just wait, and it'll happen for you. And that's easy to say when you go home to a husband to hold while my unloved heart atrophies, not sure how much longer it wants to beat just for me. I'm ashamed to admit my biggest fear is never being half of a whole. 50%, 5 over 10. I may be bad at math, but I can see the equation ending, and all that's left is me, the common denominator, surrounded by sums, never with a +1 of my own. But maybe this can't be solved by math. Maybe it's science instead, so I try to figure out what's wrong with my head. I read a book where a trauma doctor said, abandoned kids aren't drawn to stability because it doesn't feel like home. How cruel it is to end up alone just because it's what I'm used to. Allow me this self-pity poem, I'll come back strong, I always do. But for now, the crisp images of brain scans where the effects of PTSD are clear as day are starting to scare me away, so I'll take a break from science, go back to the blackboard, keep plugging myself into formulas where I don't quite fit, asking what is it that makes this so easy for some people and not for others. My mind's so divided, like I'm in one of those word problems, like if Saoirse's traveling in a bubble of existential dread, speeding 100 miles per hour towards the grave, how long does she have before she starts to look her age? How long does she have before it's too late for anyone to love her? The words are just as bad as the numbers. I can memorize the quadratic formula using a catchy jingle, but it's still nonsense to me and I'm still fucking single. But the textbook says, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, so if I can define my place on the y-axis and learn how to hold a ruler steady, I'll draw a line between me and where I want to be, and who knows, class is still in session, so maybe there's still some hope for me. I did fail a lot of math tests, but I always managed to pull off a B.
See you,